Well, as you could probably see from the title of this video, I'm going to be doing a list of the top 10 most overrated matches in WrestleMania history. This list will be made entirely from personal preferences, no set standard or anything. I tried to have some kind of a standard of who overrates the match, and I thought about, because different entities, rate things within the wrestling world. You have the fans, the people on message boards, people on YouTube like myself, things like that. And they might really love matches that I don't really see what the big deal is. The WWE overrates some of their matches because, and you can hardly blame them because they're selling their product. So they might praise a match more than I feel like it deserves to be praised, though. Or, they might assign merits to a match that I don't think it has. Or, the Dave Meltzers of the world might overrate matches as well. I don't want to sound sarcastic or bitchy here, but the so-called experts and dirt sheet writers or whatever, they have their star ratings and they have their own ranking systems and Match of the Year awards and all of that jazz. And I feel they overrate some matches as well. And I tried to, decide on one or the other, and then ultimately I found it too hard to make the list trying to do that. So I've said, okay, with each entry I'm going to make my own list, and then I'm going to explain who overrates the match, or who I feel overrates the match. And hopefully nobody gets too mad at me, because I do think that this video is going to piss somebody off, and I'm pretty sure some people are going to think I'm trolling with this video, but I'm seriously not. I can assure you that my personal feelings on every single one of these matches are completely legitimate. I really do feel this way, and if I insult a match that you love and think is one of the best, I'm not trying to say you're stupid or anything. It's just personal tastes that clash. And I should also note that the 10 matches I'm about to list, I don't think any of them are bad. I don't think they're bad matches. Some of them were okay. Some of them were better than okay. Some of them were pretty good. I just don't think they quite measure up to matches that I would consider to be the best among WrestleMania's history. And I do think it's an interesting thing to look at because, personal preferences and, differing tastes come into play when ranking a lot of these and talking about these matches. And, not everybody feels the same way about certain things. It's like any other art form, Not everybody loves, all the movies that I love. It's just, it's different strokes for different blokes, actually. But without further ado, here comes my list.
Sorry.
For the 10th spot, I had it down to 2. And it was actually both Undertaker Triple H match. Well, the first two. Obviously, I think the Hell in a Cell match is their best match, and that one's not going to be on this list. But the match that these two had at 17 and the match that these two had at 27. Neither one, like I said, neither one is a bad match. I actually really enjoyed both matches. I think both matches are really, really enjoyable and very entertaining. The 17 match was very chaotic, and the 27 match was entertaining. It was exciting, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the saving graces of this particular WrestleMania. But I think because, and this is why I'm picking the 27 match over the 17 match, 17 is a really good match on a great WrestleMania. So I think people kind of look at it with rosy-colored glasses. And yeah, Sheamus on one of the WrestleMania documentaries said that they stole the show, and I don't agree. I think Rock and Austin was the best match on that show, no question. In my mind, I think that was one of the best matches of the decade. So even while it does get a little overrated, part of it has to do with the fact that it was on a really good show to begin with. So it looks better having been on a really good show. WrestleMania 27, this match, I think gets praised a little too heavily because it's on an absolute crap show. And, I guess you could say the same thing about Bret and Austin at 13, where it really is the only worthwhile match. It's seriously, if there's a one-match WrestleMania, it's WrestleMania 13. It's the only match worth two shits on that entire card. But I think Austin-Bret deserves it because that was a match that, changed the business. The 27 match between Taker and Triple H, while very entertaining and while it was a nice, fun brawl with 845 chair shots and 937 kickouts, and while it did have some nice drama here and there, it was kind of just, I'm not even sure how I want to put this. It was just kind of wild and crazy for the sake of being wild and crazy. I don't think there was that much of a cohesive story being told. It was just brutality and crazy for the sake of being brutal and crazy, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. But I'm not going to hold it up there as one of my all-time favorites in WrestleMania's history. I do think it's, if I were going to make like a top 50s list, it would definitely be on there. It would be on a top 50s list. But as you narrow the list down to, say, 30 or 20, I wouldn't give that match a whole lot of consideration. Again, really enjoyed its match of the night at WrestleMania 27 with no ifs, ands, or buts. Is it on par with the two Shawn and Taker matches that preceded it? No. Is it as good as the Hell in a Cell match that came after it? No. But it often gets put on that pedestal, and I don't think it quite measures up to the other three matches. But, that's just me.
Sorry.
Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 20. Now, this is one that strictly gets overrated by the fans. Because the WWE doesn't talk about it all that much. It's actually become somewhat forgotten in the WrestleMania legacy, and maybe part of that is Kurt Angle working for TNA now. But, a lot of fans have told me that this is an awesome match, and it's a 4.5-star match, and it's only slightly less impressive than the main event, which was the triple threat between Benoit, Michaels, and Triple H, which I hold up there as one of the best Mania main events ever. I think that match is absolutely amazing. Eddie and Angle, though, again, it's a good match. I don't think it's anything that spectacular or special. It never really... I don't think the match really reached that high-caliber level that you would expect of those two. And that's what I thought when they made this match. Like, you hear, okay, Eddie and Kurt Angle. Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, two of the best workers of their time. You think matches like Benoit and Eddie, or Angle and Benoit, or Angle and Jericho, or Jericho and Benoit, or Eddie and Ray, or Ray and Angle, or Eddie and Malenko. You would just expect it to be one of those epic work rate pairings where they just go out there and have an awesome wrestling match. Brett and Shawn would be another example, to use an earlier one. You hear those two names and you just expect that, and quite honestly, I don't think they ever had that same chemistry. I don't think that their matches ever quite measured up to that high caliber that you would expect, and I don't know what it is. Their matches just never really clicked with me. I think the 20 match is actually one of the better ones. The ones that they had later in the year, their SummerSlam match was a little iffy, and the matches they had on SmackDown were just kind of, they were all right. And I'm probably going to catch heat for saying this, but personally, I felt like the matches that Eddie had with JBL were much better. And I know that's a very unpopular thing to say, and people say things, oh yeah, but the Judgment Day match, people only remember that because Eddie busted his face open, the blood coming out of him was like a fountain. And I'm like, yeah, but it worked. It was dramatic. I mean, I was sitting there watching the Eddie JBL match at Judgment Day, yelling at the TV, like, oh my God, someone stop this match. This is like, and I was going crazy. And I honestly thought by the end of that match, I'm like, oh my God, JBL's going to win the belt. And it really took me on an emotional ride, which is what wrestling matches are supposed to do because it's a performance art. And Eddie and Angle, I never quite got that. I never quite got to that same level of excitement that you would expect out of those two. Again, it was a good, solid match. It makes WrestleMania 20 better because there's a lot of dead weight on WrestleMania 20 and big matches like Goldberg and Lesnar that totally failed. But that match was good, and I think WrestleMania 20 is better for having that match on it. I don't think it's a classic. I don't think it's that special. I think it's fairly ordinary for the most part. It's a match that could have main evented any B pay-per-view. If it had been the WrestleMania main event, might have been okay. I don't think it would be remembered as a great, or maybe it would. I don't know because I'm talking overrated matches here, and I've had fans on message boards tell me this match is a forgotten classic. WWE should praise it more. It's the major feather in Eddie's cap as champion. All these other things that get said about this match, and I've just never seen it. I remember when WrestleMania 20 was over, I was blown away by the main event. I liked Undertaker's entrance. I thought Christian and Chris Jericho was better. I thought the Evolution versus Rock and Sock match were better. This match I just thought was good. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was that special or that memorable, and that's unfortunate because you would expect those two to have that kind of match, and a lot of people felt like they did, and I'm in the minority there, so take that for what it's worth. I don't know. I just personally felt like those two never had a great chemistry, and it never really clicked in the way that it should have.
I'm deeply sorry.
So yeah, I'm kind of cheating with this one. I'm actually putting all of the Money in the Bank ladder matches into this one spot. And again, it's not that I don't like the Money in the Bank ladder matches. I do. I think there's a place for them. I think, because one of the problems with WWE today is so many of their mid-carders have no direction. And they had no direction when they were doing these matches at WrestleMania, but at least it puts them in a spot where they get to fight for something with some kind of merit or worth. So at least it's important in that aspect. And I do like the Money in the Bank ladder matches. I think they're fun. I thought those kind of daredevil, car wreck kind of matches are fun to watch. And I think there's a place for it. And the prize is important, like I said. However, I'm more of a fan of storylines and characters and making me care that these people are fighting each other and giving people wants, desires, goals to achieve and stuff like that. And there is a goal to achieve with Money in the Bank, obviously, given the prize and how important it is. But these matches are just there for mostly spots. And it's just a high-risk daredevil display, and that's all the matches really are. There's not a whole lot of story behind them. The characters, for the most part, aren't feuding with each other or anything. It's just, let's throw 6 to 12 guys into a ladder match, let them dive off of them for a while, and at the end, we'll have a guy with a title shot. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I sort of liken it to a lot of the matches that TNA used to do, like where they would just randomly put X Division guys in an Ultimate X match and just let them dive off the Ultimate X for a while. Or matches, and they did a lot of X Division matches like this, like the fucking Terror Dome that they used to do, the Escape matches at Lockdown, some of the Rankings matches or Elimination matches or whatever, where they would just take 4 to 12 X Division guys and just let them go out there and do backflips for however long they felt like it was necessary to have them go out there and do backflips. Again, it's enjoyable. There's a place for that. It's entertaining. They're not among my favorite matches, and I certainly don't look at them as Match of the Year contenders. I view them as fun, spot-filled, highlight reel type of matches with not a whole lot of substance behind them. They'll add to the show, but that's not the match I'm typically looking forward to. That's not typically one of the major highlights for me, unless the show was really bad. Royal Rumble, I'm kind of the same way with that. That's just a match to pile 30 guys in there. At the end of the day, you'll have a contender. Can they be entertaining? Yes, absolutely. I would never, on a Match of the Year list, rank a Royal Rumble match as one of my favorites, unless the year was awful and the Rumble just happened to be entertaining. Again, I think Royal Rumbles are entertaining. I think Money in the Banks are entertaining, and I think X Division matches are where they have guys do flippy flops for 10 minutes off of God knows what. Those are entertaining. But I'm a bigger fan of grudge matches. I'm a bigger fan of simplified one-on-ones and tag matches with some kind of personal grudge behind them or something. And those, to me, are the Mania matches that really stand out. And those are the ones that I consider to be my favorites. And while, again, like I said, there is a place for the Money in the Bank ladder match, I wouldn't mind if it made a comeback to WrestleMania. But overall, I just don't see them as that special in the grand scheme of things or the grand history of WrestleMania, except for establishing a contender. Actually, typically, a lot of times, going through them all, the match at 21, it was great that Edge won and Shelton's crazy. Okay, that's cool. 22, Shelton Benjamin is crazy. It was cool that RVD won. Okay, awesome. The match at 23, that 6 spot between Hardy and Edge was great, and, there was a lot of action. It's not one of my favorites. That one's actually one of the weaker ones, I think, because there were a lot of finisher spots where guys would just go out there and do 8 or 9 finishers in a row or something like that, and that got a little repetitive. But overall, still fun. 2004, John Morrison and Shelton Benjamin are crazy. They did crazy shit. CM Punk won. That was cool. 25, it was a little botchy in points, a little sloppy, but overall it was cool. CM Punk won again. Okay, hopefully they'll have something good for him. 26, again, Evan Bourne did some cool stuff. You got some cool spots here and there, cool. Jack Swagger one kind of left me scratching my head. I'm like, really? The guy you jobbed out for a year? But all right, whatever. Fun match. I'll go with it. But that's just it. They're just fun. They're like candy. They're not necessarily healthy, and there's not a whole lot of substance to them, but you enjoy them, and you're glad that you had them. Maybe that's a bad simile, but whatever. It's my fucking video. I'll do what I want. But yeah, Money in the Bank, don't have a problem with them. I just would never say that they're among my favorite matches. Like some people do. Some people really like the Money in the Banks, and they'll list them on Match of the Year lists and Match of the Night lists for WrestleMania. And I've never reviewed them that high. That's just, again, that's more of a personal taste thing. It's just never been one of my favorite matches to have.
Sorry.
Now, this next one is a match that was overrated mostly by the experts, and I say that because take a look at PWI Match of the Year award winners, and take a look at what some of the winners are. The 2006 winner for Match of the Year in all of pro wrestling, not just WWE, all of pro wrestling, the winner was Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 22, the no-holds-barred match that they had. Really? 2006? That was the best match? Really? I mean, I could sit here all day. Undertaker and Angle at No Way Out. Edge and Foley at WrestleMania. Edge and Foley was the match of the night at that WrestleMania. I think it blew Shawn and McMahon out of the water. Excuse me. The tag match at One Night Stand. What was it? Foley, Edge, and Lita versus Tommy Dreamer, Terry Funk, and Beulah. That match was insane. Cena RVD at One Night Stand. Just for the emotion of it, if nothing else. Cena and Edge in the TLC match. I would say Trish and Lita. I would put that up there. Trish's farewell match. That was a very emotionally charged matchup. And then look at TNA. I mean, the X Division matches that they had that year between AJ Daniels and Joe. Joe and Angle started that year. The series between AMW and AJ and Daniels. AJ and Daniels versus LAX. Christian and Abyss, some of the matches they had. Really, you're telling me that Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 22 was voted Match of the Year according to PWI? I don't understand that. That decision makes no sense to me. Again, am I saying the match was bad? No, it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. It's the typical formula that you expect out of Vince McMahon, where he acts like an asshole throughout the entire build-up and then he gets beat up at Mania horribly. I mean, this match was not entirely a squash match, but it was pretty close to it. Like, the last 10 or 12 minutes was nothing but Shawn beating the ever-living piss out of Vince McMahon in a really entertaining way. I don't think it was Match of the Year. I think it was very entertaining and satisfying for those that wanted to see Vince get beat up. No, me personally, I was starting to get sick of the Mr. McMahon character by this point, because it was starting to turn into kind of the same thing. It's like, all right, every time he wrestles at Mania, he acts like a dick throughout the entire build-up, and then he gets beat up in like the most insane way. It happened at 17. I think 17 did it better, actually. 17, that was an excellent example of how to give the heel his comeuppance. I think that one, from a mechanics standpoint and actually being satisfying and getting the heel his comeuppance, I think that one's probably Vince's best Mania match. The match with Hogan at 19, where everything blew up in his face, and the match at 22 with Michaels, it was just that same formula. And then, of course, they completely destroyed it at 26 when he had that awful match with Brett. But, this match was just kind of riding off of that same formula. And, again, it was entertaining. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I certainly don't hold it up there as high as some of Shawn Michaels' greatest WrestleMania matches. And Lord knows Shawn has had plenty of awesome WrestleMania matches just year after year. I mean, he's had some of my all-time favorites. This one isn't one of them. I just thought it was a very entertaining match, and I didn't really think anything of it when the show was over. I just thought it was fun. And at the end of the year, when PWI listed it as the match of the year, I was just blown away. I was like, really? That because fan votes count in that too, so I'll say the fans overrated it as well. But I don't understand how that happened, unless the vote was just split between several different matches. I don't know, but I certainly don't think it deserves to be held that high as being the match of the year. I just totally disagreed with that.
Sorry.
I actually feel really dirty having two Shawn Michaels matches on here, and I do apologize for that picture, but that was the best picture I could find of Michaels and Diesel together. For some reason, I couldn't find the actual match graphic, but what can you do? But yeah, I feel really bad having two Shawn Michaels matches on an overrated list, because, Shawn has had so many awesome matches at WrestleMania. I feel like I'm bashing him, and I'm not. It's just, actually, the problems I have with this match are not his fault. At least I don't think so. But this is another match, and I don't understand it. PWI, it was listed as the match of the year for 1995, and I'm just sitting there like, really? I mean, I know 95 was a shit year. Trust me, I lived through it. 95 was horrible. I get it. I lived through it. But that wasn't the match of the year. I thought Brett and Diesel at Survivor Series was better. I thought the match that Bulldog and Brett had in December was better. the ladder rematch between Shawn and Razor. I thought that was Shawn's best match of the year, without question. I thought that match was great. Shawn and Jarrett had a match that was outstanding. That was an Intercontinental title match. I thought that match was better. Even the Royal Rumble match between Bret and Diesel that had 804 run-ins, I thought that match was better. And this is just WWF. And I'm not even counting WCW and ECW in the discussion. So I just sat there and I'm like, really? That was the best match of the year. Not just the best match at this WrestleMania. Match of the year for 1995. And I'll get into my problems with the match. First of all, Shawn did everything he could to make this match work, and I don't berate Shawn for this at all, but coming out of this match, and I distinctly remember this when I was 10 years old, the problem with this match is that Diesel just sucks as a top babyface. And that's the major problem. It's just, I just could not get behind this guy as top babyface. And that led to a lot of problems. I remember talking about it with my friends on the schoolyard the day after the show. It was like, man, Diesel sucks. I mean, yeah, he's awful. It's like, man, wouldn't it have been better if Shawn won? Yeah. Remember when Hogan was champion? Wasn't that better? Yeah. How about Warrior? Wasn't he so much cooler than Diesel? Yeah. Savage, wasn't it awesome when he was champion? Yeah. Bret, I mean, yeah, you gotta love Bret. Why isn't Bret the champion? God, that's bullshit. Why didn't he wrestle Michaels? That would have been so much better. Remember when Backlund was champion? No, that happened before we were born. Well, it was better than Diesel. How do you know that? Couldn't be any worse. How about that Stone Cold Steve Austin guy? He's not around yet. Oh yeah, I hung around with Clairvoyance, by the way. Yeah. Oh, be on the lookout, man. It's gonna be awesome. How about this John Cena character? Beware. But I do kind of look at Diesel as kind of like this big preparation for Cena. It was like, okay, I lived through Diesel. I think I can stomach another horrible babyface champion after him. But Diesel just did not fit in this top babyface role. This match had the story, the friends turned enemy things with Shawn being jealous of Diesel's success. It certainly had that. Shawn was awesome. The way he won the Royal Rumble was great. So it had a lot of good things going into it. It's just the fact that the champion sucked. And that was a definite problem throughout the match because, and you could see it. Go back and watch the last few minutes of that match. The fans turned on Diesel. They didn't start out booing him, but they turned on him by the end of the match. And started cheering for Shawn. It was a little sloppy in points. They actually botched the comeback at the end where Diesel was, again, this is more Diesel's fault. Diesel was supposed to slingshot Shawn into the corner where the turnbuckle was exposed. And Diesel had him too far away, so Shawn couldn't make the jump, and he ended up hitting the second turnbuckle down, which was padded, so it didn't have the same impact or effect that they wanted it to. And then he hit him with the jackknife. It was like the worst jackknife powerbomb I've ever seen in my life. Well, LT hit one in his match against Bam Bam. That might have been worse. So, two worst jackknife powerbombs on the same show. That's remarkable. But go back and watch the tape. Shawn landed on his feet and fell backwards for the pin. And, it's things like that really dragged this match down. Again, it mostly falls on Diesel. And that's really the major fault with this entire match. And, if you don't like the protagonist, things just kind of fall apart, typically. Actually, a lot of my favorite Cena matches are the ones where he's sort of the heel, where they take advantage of the fact that so many people hate him, like in One Night Stand against Rob Van Dam or the Money in the Bank match against CM Punk, where it's like, where he's supposed to get booed, basically. Those are my favorite matches of his, anyway. But this one, to me, it just highlighted how bad their World Heavyweight Champion was and how bad the decision was to run with Diesel. And how do they solve that problem? Obviously, they have him wrestle more as champion against guys like Sid and Mabel. Perfect solution to everything, right? But yeah, again, it's not a bad match. Shawn certainly worked his heart out to make this match as good as possible. But when you're not buying into the World Heavyweight Champion, things just don't go well. And this WrestleMania as a whole was a shitfest anyway, and this match not quite being as good as it could or should have been just kind of highlights that. It's like, yeah, this WrestleMania sucks, so whatever. Diesel and Shawn, their match wasn't that good. Okay, fine, this whole Mania sucks. Whatever, who cares? But yeah, the fact that this got listed as Match of the Year by PWI, I just can't, I can't fathom that. That just blows my mind. I don't understand. A WrestleMania main event, or well, it wasn't the main event. LT and Bam Bam was the main event. But WrestleMania World Title match or not, I just don't see how that could be considered the best match of 1995, even though it was a shit year. It just confuses me.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Okay, asshole! I'm sorry!
CM Punk and Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship at last year's WrestleMania. This is a match that doesn't get talked about a whole hell of a lot by WWE, so I'm not going to say they overrated. I don't recall it getting a lot of praise by the Meltzers of the world or whatever. Maybe it did, and I just don't remember. But I don't remember hearing a whole lot for it. Where this match got a lot of praise was from the fans and a lot of message boards, YouTube comments, whatever, said that this match was a wrestling masterpiece and said that this match was a classic. And it was just wrestling art, and it was perfect, and it was wonderful. And CM Punk and Chris Jericho had a wonderful moment at WrestleMania. I have watched the match twice, and I just don't see it. I don't understand what the appeal is in this match. I thought it was okay. Okay, here are the things I liked about it. I thought the match was okay, solid throughout. I liked the finish, the closing sequence. It was very MMA-like, the way they did it. And I liked it with them trading holds and stuff. I thought the finish was really cool, and I really liked that. And there was also a spot where Jericho countered a top rope Hurricane Rana into the walls of Jericho. That spot was awesome. But other than that, I just thought it was kind of ordinary. I thought it was kind of ho-hum and paint by numbers and regular, for lack of a better term. And I don't think it's entirely Punk and Jericho's fault. Poor Chris Jericho. I feel so bad for him. I keep hoping that one day he's going to have this awesome WrestleMania World Title match, and it never happens. The match with Triple H at 18 was a disaster. The match with Edge at 26 was blasé, and this one just didn't live up to the expectations. Again, it had the storyline. The storyline was, well, it could have been better. I still think Jericho should have won the Rumble, and they should have closed out that pay-per-view with them having a stare-down. And there are certainly other things they could have done better, but overall, this match did have a lot of emotional bite, strong characters, and I thought it was going to be really good. Here's the problem, and there are two major problems. Card placement is very important. It's very important. Certain matches need to come earlier in the show. Certain matches should be allowed to close. Certain matches have absolutely no business closing. CM Punk and Chris Jericho, and yes, it's the WWE title match, and I fully understand that. However, it should not have come should not have come after the Hell in a Cell match. It should have come before it. The only thing that was going to follow the Hell in a Cell match was going to be Cena and Rock, and that was because that match had been built up for a year, and that was the thing that they put all their promotion into. The Hell in a Cell match, and I knew it before it happened, was going to have 9,000 chair shots, 855 kickouts, and sledgehammer shots, the works. It was going to have everything, and it did. It had everything, every single one of those big things you could possibly imagine. CM Punk and Chris Jericho are going to have a hard time following that with a regular match, and I knew that was going to be a problem. And I kept saying before the show, was like, that match needs to come before Hell in a Cell, or else it's going to take away from it. And I think it did. I think the action that they put on, and I think a lot of the near falls that they had weren't as well received, mainly because there had been so many of them in the Hell in a Cell match that came earlier in the show, and it's hard for a regular match to follow that. Another problem, I think they added, well, I don't think they did, they added that stipulation, like, literally at the last minute. Like, as they did a backstage segment with CM Punk standing out there ready to make his entrance, and Johnny Ace puts on that stipulation that if Punk tries to get disqualified or counted out, he'll lose the title. That stipulation was not put into effect the week before the show. It was not made a point of, at all at any point during the build-up. It was literally thrown on there the last minute. And I don't think the live crowd really, I think they either missed it or they didn't quite, they didn't have enough time to digest it. So when the match rolled around and they started doing that stuff with Jericho trying to taunt Punk, I don't think they were very receptive to it because I don't think they understood what was going on. because they didn't fully. A lot of them probably missed that segment, because I've been to pay-per-views where they do backstage segments, and it is easy to miss that stuff if you're paying attention to something else, or maybe the audio, the acoustics in the arena aren't that great, or whatever. It's very easy to miss that stuff. So I don't think they had time to really digest that was a stipulation in the match, and I don't think that they were as invested in it because of that. Again, I feel bad for Jericho, because I keep hoping for him to have that great WrestleMania title match. He had the awesome match with Shawn at 19, but other than that, he doesn't have a whole lot under his belt. And Punk, I keep waiting for Punk to have that really great WrestleMania match as well. Some people think this was it for both of them. I disagree. I thought it was pretty run-of-the-mill, ordinary, pretty basic bitch kind of stuff. I thought the match they had at Extreme Rules was far better. Much better. More emotion, more animosity came across. It was more violent, obviously, and it was just this wild street fight. But I thought that match was much better. That was actually one of my favorite matches of 2012. But the Mania match, I don't think quite lived up. But again, I'm in a minority there. A lot of fans really love this match. I personally feel like, give it a few years, this match will probably be forgotten, because I really don't think it was that special.
I'm sorry.
Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 17 is a match that gets overrated by a lot of people. Lots of people. Man, where do I even begin? I remember reading pay-per-view reviews the day after WrestleMania, and that was a great show. WrestleMania 17 was an outstanding WrestleMania, no question. But when I read some of the reviews, a lot of them said that Angle and Benoit was match of the night. And I just kind of had this quizzical look on my face, like, really? I mean, I guess if that's what you like, great. Personally, I thought Rock Austin was better. I thought TLC was better. I thought Taker and Triple H was better. I thought Vincent Shane was better, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if that's a popular thing to say, but that's my take on it. And again, it's not that I dislike the match. I thought it was a good match. I thought it added to this WrestleMania. I'm glad it's on the card. But another big thing that really forced me to it really popped into my mind when I was making up this list. I think back to the TV special that the WWE did right before WrestleMania 20. So this is a while ago, almost a decade ago. WrestleMania 20, the top 10 WrestleMania matches. It was hosted by Ric Flair. And this match was listed at number 10. And I'm thinking, okay, with 19 WrestleManias to work with, that is the 10th best match. And let me list some of the matches that didn't make it. Savage Warrior at 7, which is one of my personal favorites. Hogan Savage at 5. What were some other ones? Brett and Piper at 8. Flair and Savage at 8. Brett and Owen at 10. Kane and Undertaker at 14. Both Rock and Austin main events, 15 and 17. And then, again, 17. This was the only WrestleMania 17 match that made that top 10 list, made by the WWE. And I'm just sitting there looking at it like, that's the 10. I mean, when it popped up at number 10, I'm like, well, so what, is half of WrestleMania 17 going to take up this list? Because it's not the best match from WrestleMania 17. I was just so floored. I was blown away by it. I was like, really? It's that good? I don't think so. I massively disagree. Personally, I think Angle and Benoit, yes, it's a good technical match, and they gave a nice effort, and it's a good, solid mid-card match. But I put it on par with matches like Triple H and Owen Hart at 14. Or Jake Roberts versus Ted DiBiase at 6. Or, to use a later one, Christian and Chris Jericho at 20. Those matches that are good, pretty good, solid mid-card matches. They're not necessarily classics, but they add to the show. And the show is better for having them there. And God bless them. I love having those matches on there. I'd rather have a good match than a bad match, without question. But they're not classics. I would actually probably rank Jericho and Christian and Owen and Triple H and maybe even Jake and DiBiase over this match. I just never saw what the big deal was with this one. I don't know, maybe it's just that thing that people just love. A lot of wrestling fans, the really diehard smart mark wrestling fans, just really love technical matches. And I can understand that to a certain degree, but I just wasn't as invested in it as I have been with other matches and other, other performers and other times. I thought Angle and Benoit had a much better match at Royal Rumble 03. I think that match is the classic that they had. That's my personal favorite that they had. I don't think the Mania 17 match even comes close to it, but for whatever reason, this match gets a lot of praise and is remembered as, WrestleMania, WWE ranked it as their 10th best out of the first 19, so they must have thought pretty highly. Well, to be fair, Angle and Benoit were the two challengers heading into WrestleMania 20 that year, so maybe that's why they picked it. I don't know. But it isn't just them. I've heard that match get praised a lot, and I've just never seen it. I just think it's a good, solid mid-card match that got dwarfed by several other matches that occurred on this very same show.
Here we go.
I'm really sorry.
I'm sure you are.
So I just got done talking about how the TLC match was better than Angle and Benoit at WrestleMania 17, and now I'm ranking it ahead of Angle and Benoit on a most overrated list. Logic? I have none. Actually, yes, I do. I do feel like this match does get praised more often than Angle and Benoit, which is why I'm ranking it ahead of it, even though I do think it's a better match. Now, what exactly makes this match overrated? Well, first, a little background. The matches that these three teams had together, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudley Boys, were revolutionary, they were exciting, they were innovative, and they brought about a new golden age for tag team wrestling that pretty much hadn't been there since the 80s. The matches, they were phenomenal. I mean, the ladder matches, the tables matches, the TLC matches that they had, it was just a spectacle over and over and over again. And what I talked about earlier with the Money in the Bank matches and how those matches don't have a whole lot of story or character going into it, it's just a bunch of guys diving off of ladders for one prize. This match had those strong characters and those strong stories. Each team was different. Each team had their own personality. Each team, they were all different from each other. They were all unique, and all three of them hated each other, so naturally it was just a perfect fit to put them in these type of, daredevil match situations. And I loved most of them. I thought they had some really wild and creative matches together. And they were spot fests. I'm not going to say that they weren't. They were brilliant pieces of psychology or anything. But there was strong character behind all of that. And there was legitimate drama because I actually cared about the three teams, and the three teams all had distinct personalities that were worth caring about. So that's why those worked so well. I love the match that they had at WrestleMania 2000. I think that is one of the better ladder matches in WrestleMania history. I wouldn't rank it ahead of Shawn and Razor. I still think Shawn and Razor at 10 is the best, but that one was off the charts and really, it was just amazing. The first TLC match, first official TLC match, the WrestleMania 2000 ladder match was basically a TLC match. It just wasn't called that. The first TLC match they had at SummerSlam 2000, outstanding. I think that one might have even been better than the WrestleMania 2000 match. Just a wild and crazy affair. The other matches that they had, the first tables match between the Hardys and the Dudleys at Royal Rumble 2000. The first ladder match between the Hardys and Edge and Christian in No Mercy 99. The ladder match that Edge and Christian and the Hardys had on the first Raw on TNN. Those were all outstanding matches, and now that I'm thinking about it, actually the Hardys and the Dudleys had another tables match. I think it was on like a SmackDown Super Tuesday or Super Thursday or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. It was some SmackDown special that had a tables match between the two teams. But as I'm thinking about it, I don't think Edge and Christian and the Dudleys ever had like a big gimmick match with each other, where it was just those two teams. If they did, I'm drawing a blank and I just don't remember it. But I do know they had a regular match at Royal Rumble 01, and that was a good match, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't one of the big gimmick matches in the series. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder why that didn't happen, or if it did, I just don't remember it. I don't know. But my point is that those matches were outstanding, and just this wonderful series of matches between these three teams was off the charts and just wonderful. The TLC 2 match that they had at WrestleMania X7 is typically praised as being the best one in the series by fans. I've seen it ranked above the WrestleMania 2000 match a lot. And a lot of that might stem from the fact that WrestleMania 17 on the whole is a far superior show to WrestleMania 2000. It's not even a contest. And I think a lot of the love for WrestleMania 17 might enhance that. I don't know. Personally, though, I felt like this match, and again, I enjoyed it. It was a wild spot fest. It was fun and exciting and everything. It was great. And Edge and Christian won all 3 matches in the trilogy between the 3 teams, which was really cool. And I like that, things come best in 3s, and I like that they actually built time in between the rematches. It wasn't just, 3 straight rematches, 3 straight pay-per-views in a row. They actually, built some time to the second match and then built some more time until the WrestleMania 17 match. Again, I really like that. But this one, I don't think it covered any new ground. I don't think it really elevated the teams beyond where they were before and didn't try anything creative or new with them. I think by this one was more of a wild car wreck than the other ones were. I think the other ones, they took more of an effort to actually sell some of the bumps in the spots. This one, Jeff Hardy was in like 4 or 5 really bad falls and would get up almost immediately to go do some other crazy stunt. So I don't think it quite had that, selling the danger and the consequences of those type of moves in this type of match. But another thing, again, going back to how I don't feel like it covered any new ground. I was just kind of like, we've done this already. We've been down this road. I wanted to see what they could do in Hell in a Cell. I thought that would have been a really cool match to have. And Jeff would have done something crazy, like do the Swanton on top of the Hell in a Cell through like 8 tables or something. And they could have done something crazy like that. They could have gotten ladders and tables involved in the Hell in a Cell too, and put their own stamp on Hell in a Cell and do a lot of crazy shit there. But I wanted to see, let them have this awesome, climax in Hell in a Cell, because I think the 3 teams deserved it too, because the Hell in a Cell to me is supposed to be that's the climax to the feud. That is where the war ends, and it's certainly gotten that reputation. And I think those 3 teams deserved it with the number of matches that they had together, and I think this would have given them something different too. And some people would probably be thinking, yeah, but you're locking them inside of a cage, so that might restrict them a little bit. And by that point, everybody exited the Hell in a Cell, so they would have gotten out of there and done something crazy. So I think it would have worked, but that's what I was kind of looking. That's what I was thinking about when they signed that match. I was like, I'd rather see Hell in a Cell. I would have loved what they would have done with that. But this match, I don't think it covered any new ground. It just kind of kept them in the same place that they were and had another genuinely interesting and exciting match. But I don't think it quite reached the level of. I don't think it was as exciting or as good as the previous 2 matches, or even the other matches in the series, like the tables match at Royal Rumble or the No Mercy ladder match. I think it might be the weakest one. I actually think the SmackDown match with but Benoit and Jericho thrown into the mix a few weeks after this, I thought that match was better too. This was probably my least favorite of the bunch. The only new thing that it really added was that each team had a sidekick by this point. The Hardys had Lita, a tiny woman. The Dudleys had Spike Dudley, an even tinier man. And Edge and Christian had Big Fucking Man Beast Rhino. So, obviously, Edge and Christian had an edge in that regards. Edge had an edge. That's one of my better stupid puns. But, other than that, though, it didn't really add that much. I just felt like it wasn't new enough or different enough or innovative enough to really have much of an identity on its own. It really felt like they were just kind of, I don't want to say living off past successes, because that makes it sound lazy, and I don't think, it certainly wasn't lazy. I mean, those 6 guys killed themselves. Even their sidekicks took some nasty falls too. Poor little Lita got destroyed. But I just don't think it's as remarkable or as fun as the other 2 matches that they had, and many of the other matches that they would have eventually. But, like I said, fans often rank this match over the WrestleMania 2000 match, which is, I disagree with that, but, to each his own, I guess. Again, TLC matches are fun, and I think the series of matches that these 3 teams had was off the charts, and I can't say enough good things about them. This one's my least favorite.
I'm sorry.
The Rock versus John Cena at last year's WrestleMania. Well, this is a match that really gets overrated by the WWE, if anybody. Most of the fans I've talked to didn't like the match that much. I actually like the match more than most people I know. I've talked to some people that just fucking hate that match. I personally enjoyed it. Did I enjoy watching the two characters interact with each other? Yes. Did I mark out when Rock won because I'm an Attitude Era freak? Yes. And plus I also enjoy seeing Cena lose. That's always great. But I don't think it's this classic or this epic encounter that the WWE wants people to think it is. And maybe that's just me hating on Cena again, attacking another babyface, but I was just I walked away from that match thinking, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a good main event. It was about 10 minutes too long and dragged in places. Both guys got gassed, and it showed at points. But overall, it was solid. It was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. It was good. I don't put it up there with the spectacle main events and like the really big Mania match main event pairings that you think of when you think of WrestleMania. I don't put it on par with Hogan and Andre. I don't put it on par with Hogan and Savage or Hogan and Warrior or Brett and Shawn or Michaels and Austin or Rock and Hogan or those type of matches, those big main event spectacle matches where you just have two epic characters that the fans just adore and put them together in the ring and magic just happens. I don't think that quite happened here. How could I forget Rock and Austin? I mean, Rock and Austin is probably the best example of that, of being able to do that. And I don't think that this match quite measured up to those in terms of the level of investment of the fans. Again, maybe that's just because so many fans hate Cena. I don't know. But I don't think it quite measured up to those. Now, watching the match, it felt obvious to me that they were trying to recreate Hogan Rock. The problem with that is that you really can't recreate that. That level of investment and excitement that the fans had for Hogan versus Rock at Mania 18 can't really be manufactured. It's either there or it's not, and you can't count on it happening. Again, it either happens or it doesn't. And I don't think this match quite had that, but they tried to work the match in a way to where it would. And again, I don't think it quite lived up to that same level of excitement. Again, I'm not ragging on the match. I thought it was a good match. But it certainly wasn't so good that I was dying to see a sequel, and we're getting one this year, whether you like it or not. Hopefully they have a good match at WrestleMania 29. Maybe they can do better. I don't know. I didn't think the first match was bad. I'm actually defending it as much as I am tearing it down. I'm crazy. But it is an enjoyable match. It's a solid main event. It's not one of my favorites in WrestleMania history. I don't think... and I think the WWE wants people to think it is. And that's why they're doing it again. That's why... did it win Match of the Year at the Slammies? I couldn't remember. Did it? No, I think Hell in a Cell did. It was either Hell in a Cell or Rock and Cena. I don't remember. But Rock and Cena was nominated. And I was just kind of like, I guess, because it's one of the bigger matches because they built it up for a year. And that's the other thing. I mean, they put a lot of promotion into this. And, and they reap some benefits financially, absolutely, when you look at the buy rate. But... one of my favorite matches, or one of the most epic Mania pairings of all time. I think it might turn out to be one of those things, kind of like John Cena as a whole, where it's like they're constantly going to tell you it's one of the greatest Mania pairings of all time, and it's up to you whether or not you believe it. And more often than not, when it comes to Cena, I don't believe what they say about him. But again, I enjoyed the match. It was good. Second best match on WrestleMania 28. We'll say that behind Hell in a Cell. But this grand event that warrants a trilogy. There's been talks of doing a trilogy. I don't think it does. Actually, the second Rock got the win after I marked out, I was like, oh shit, that means we're getting a rematch. And sure enough, here we go. WrestleMania 29, twice in a lifetime. But yeah, that's really all I got to say about this. Again, it's not a bad match. I'm just not super impressed with it, and it wasn't quite the WrestleMania magic type of main event match that I think a lot of other matches have.
Hey, I'm not sorry, all right? I ain't sorry for shit.
I am really beating up on Kurt Angle here, and I don't mean to, because I really do like Kurt Angle. Haven't always been the biggest fan of Lesnar, but Lesnar's had his moments too, where I've enjoyed his work. I thought his match with Cena last year was one of my favorite matches last year, for example. But this match at WrestleMania 19 gets praised by many experts, the WWE, before Angle left, other wrestlers. Bret Hart himself said it's one of the best matches he'd ever seen, and probably the best match of the more, since he retired. Fans love this match. I've had people tell me it's one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time, one of the greatest matches of all time. I don't get it. I don't see it. I have never seen it in this match. I talked about how I watched Punk and Jericho twice to try and see what it is about this match that people love. I've seen this match 4 fucking times, 3 of them on repeat viewings, just for the sole purpose in trying to figure out what it is that people see in this match. Because I don't know if it's a Emperor's New Clothes type of situation where I'm just the only one that's willing to say that the match isn't as good as people say it is, or if I'm just the village idiot and I just can't see a brilliant work of art when it's staring me right in the face. I have no idea what it bothered me for years that I'm just sitting there like, I think this match is overrated. I don't think it's that good. It's not one of my favorites. I don't understand what people see in it. I don't think it's a classic. I don't think it's a bad match. I think it's a good match. But this massive praise that it gets drove me insane years ago. And I'm sitting there thinking, look at WrestleMania 19. It's a great WrestleMania. One of my favorites. I thought Shawn and Jericho was much better. I thought Rock and Austin 3 was much better. I thought Hogan McMahon was better, and that match gets shit on from time to time. Some people hate that match. I enjoyed that match. I thought it was really exciting and wild. If I were doing an underrated list, I would probably have this one on there. But Triple H and Booker T, it's on par with that at least. I didn't think Triple H and Booker T was that great either. It's good. It's nothing special, but it's good. And Angle Lesnar, it's good. I enjoy it fine, but greatest matches of all, one of the greatest matches of all time. I've never seen it. And on this last viewing where because I watched it again to prepare for this video, I'm like, okay, I'm going to come up with something to say of why I don't think this match is one of the greatest of all time, and I'm going to be able to explain myself. And I think I've got it. Number one, and there's 2 major flaws with this match. Number one, the finish is horribly botched, and that's something that was always my go-to when I would say that. It's like, look, they botched the finish. I mean, how can you praise a match with a botched finish as one of the greatest of all time? That doesn't gel with me. I don't understand that. And granted, the finish was botched because Lesnar crashed and burned on a shooting star press attempt. That is a daredevil move that most people his size or much smaller are not willing to try. It's a dangerous move. I understand that. Doesn't change the fact that he fucked up, and it ruined the ending of the match. And they pretty much had to pull a third F5 out of their ass while Lesnar was half conscious, just to give the match an ending. So it kind of was, after that, crash and burn, they kind of just pulled that ending out of their ass. It was kind of anticlimactic, but try to picture other WrestleMania main events. Like, what if Hogan couldn't get Andre up on the body slam at 3? What if Warrior's timing was off on having to move out of the way of the leg drop at 6? What if Shawn Michaels accidentally tapped out or submitted or something? Like, let's say the sharpshooter was legitimately hurting him and he tapped out and said, I quit, or whatever, in the Iron Man match in the closing seconds. What if Austin's timing was off and he couldn't catch the super kick in time and it ruined the end of that match? We're talking about some serious WrestleMania moments in the main events that would have been ruined if any of those things happen. If one little thing goes wrong, that WrestleMania moment is ruined. And I don't understand how this match can be praised, even though the finish was botched horribly. The worst botched spot in WrestleMania history in the main event, and that match gets praised as one of the best ever. I don't understand that. But the other problem I saw with this match, and it took me years to figure it out, and maybe I knew it at the time, and it's sort of like what I talked about with Diesel in the match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 11. Brock Lesnar sucks as a babyface. That was the problem more than anything else. And I know a lot of people, I think a lot of people love this match because it's a technical match, and a lot of the Smart Mark fans love mat wrestling technical matches. And that's fine. If that's what you like, that's cool. I'm not going to begrudge you. It's all, again, it's personal preferences, and everything else are, no two people are the same. That's cool. But with me, I need something with a little bit more substance to it. And I don't look down on the technical style. One of my favorite matches of all time is actually an unsung classic, in my opinion. Bret Hart versus Bob Backlund at Survivor Series 1994. That match is fucking amazing. Amazing. Why do I like that match more than Angle Lesnar at Mania? My answer, I bought into the story of Bret Hart and Bob Backlund. The story was phenomenal. You had this champion who lost the title years ago in a situation where his manager threw in the towel. So technically he never submitted. He never lost the belt on his own. He was never defeated. The manager decided that it was over. Arnold Scotland. Even as a kid, I used to see that clip with Arnold throwing in the towel. And Backlund lived with that anger and that bitterness for years and years and years until it came to the surface and he snapped and became a psychopath. And now you have this respectable babyface champion, the pure wrestling champion, that has to contend with a damn near psychotic, lunatic. And, they went out there and had an awesome technical wrestling match because that's their style and that's what they're great at. And it was an awesome match, and I totally bought into that story. It had a lot of drama, great characters, love the protagonist, love the antagonist. I think that was the best Backlund's ever been as a character. And I thought the match really worked extremely well. Lesnar and Angle doesn't quite have that. Yes, it has a good build-up. Some of the mechanics of the build-up were good, where Lesnar gets screwed out of the title, Angle becomes the champion while that happens, and Angle has to put all these obstacles in Lesnar's way to keep him from the title at Mania. Lesnar wins the Rumble, and then basically the build-up to WrestleMania is just a game of cat and mouse, and they build it up as this is going to be like the pure, wrestling purist dream match, and that's okay. That's all well and good. The build-up is there. The problem is that Lesnar just fucking sucks as a babyface. He's not built to be a babyface. You look at him and you just see a monster that kills people, and that's what he should be. He looks like an asshole, number one. He's got this shit-eating, look on his face. It's just naturally how he looks. It's kind of like Miz. Miz works better as a heel because he just looks like a shit-eating asshole. Lesnar looks like he's supposed to be a silent, and I stress that a lot, silent. Lesnar on the microphone is abysmal, either face or heel, and him as a top face working the microphone is damn near laughable. But he works best as the Ivan Drago type, the silent monster that lets his manager do the talking. One of the worst things they ever did to him was when they took Paul Heyman away from him. And now that Paul Heyman's back with him, he's fucking awesome again. And he's not talking, even better. But as a top face, he just didn't work. It was like Diesel all over again. It was just this guy that they picked because he's an impressive physical specimen. Diesel because of his size. Lesnar because he's built like a truck and can do great athletic things. And that's all. That's it. That's all he is. He doesn't have a whole lot of charisma on his own. He's just not a very likable babyface. So when you go into this match, I'm supposed to be rooting for the babyface to rip Angle's head off. That's how this is supposed to go, but I don't like the babyface, so the interest level just isn't there. And in the end result, all the mat wrestling just feels ordinary to me because I don't care if Angle... I don't care if Angle gets beat, and I don't care if Lesnar dominates him and overpowers him. I just, it's just, that just doesn't work. And I hope that's a good enough answer. That's kind of what I've come up with in my brain, because I've thought about this ever since it happened 10 years ago, trying to figure out what it is about this match that everybody else sees and I don't see. And I think what it comes down to is a difference in taste, where I like strong characters, better drama, better written storylines, and a lot of the other people that review these matches, again, I'm not ragging on you guys, you just like technical wrestling for the sake of it, and that's fine. That's all well and good. But, this match never really impressed me all that much. When I go through all the main events in WrestleMania history, and even just the WWE title matches, regardless of whether or not they main evented, I liked Hogan Andre more just for the sheer spectacle of it. Hogan Savage was better. Hogan Warrior was better. Flair and Savage was better. I would say it was on par with Hogan and Slaughter. Yeah, that's right. I went there, bitches. Yeah, it's on par with Hogan Slaughter at 7. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm looking for those hate comments now. Some other ones, the Iron Man match, Michaels and Austin and Rock, both of them. And even after that, I thought Cena Michaels was better at 23. I liked that match more. I thought that was a genuinely more interesting match. And that was a match that didn't really have much of a build-up, but because I guess I just really like Shawn Michaels and I just view Cena as the heel by default, it just kind of worked. I don't know. Plus, the action that they were able to put together was actually pretty good. But yeah, I've never seen what the big deal is with this match. Me wanting to talk about this match is actually the genesis of me doing this overrated list. Because I just wanted to put it out there. It's like, look, and if anybody else has another reason for why they love this match so much and why it's one of their favorites, go ahead and say it. I welcome, another, more insight into this, because it's sort of become like one of those matches that you're kind of expected to blindly, well, I guess blindly is kind of a harsh word, but you're expected to praise it. It's just one of those accepted norms that this is one of the greatest match of all time, and if you don't agree, you're a moron. And I've never seen it. I've just never, ever, ever seen it in this match, ever. But what do I know? I'm just a goof with a webcam.